I said, yeah, that's probably the biggest misnomer is that, yeah, getting while under dispatch, can I get rid of my hired and unowned? Is it going to significantly reduce my hired and unowned?
Yeah,
No. The answer
I
is
know.
no. Is it going to, should it reduce the hired and unowned cost? Yes. Is it a significant? No, because at the end of the day, the reality is hired and unowned continues to pay, these severe claims.
Well,
And
I think there's a miseducation too about what
correct.
hired unknown actually does versus what the difference between the two insurances actually are.
Right.
So
And
somebody
Yeah.
that's what
jump
I
in on
think.
that. Explain that.
Yeah, the while under dispatch is primary auto while for the driver while they're in course of delivery, while hired and non-owned is coverage for the motor carrier
Yep.
for on behalf of the driver exposure when a lawsuit's brought against the motor carrier, right? And unfortunately, with the industry that it's operating now, with private, personal auto insurance, the majority of those claims have been declined. Therefore, your hired and non-owned is almost the first line of defense. Again,
Hmm.
not covering the driver. That's another misnomer, I guess, that's out there is we never hear about what happens to the driver,
Right.
right? Under these scenarios, we
Yeah.
insure the motor carrier. We're involved in the claims process from that perspective, but that individual's life is probably just flipped upside down and ruined.
Yeah.
And, the emotional scars of maybe they caused an injury. And then on top of that, the financial burden, they had no coverage on their personal auto. What
Yeah.
happens to them? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So, I think there's two angles of addressing these coverages is one, we're trying to protect the driver as well as the motor carrier. And I think that gets lost in some of these discussion is what really
In the
happens to the
narrative.
driver. Same with the occupational accident coverage, right? When that driver is hurt, they should want that occupational accident coverage. That's their
What's the favorite
livelihood.
thing you guys hear from clients, delivery companies all the time? Like when you ask a question about workers' comp or occupational accident, and their response is, "Well, we require them to have workers' comp. It's in their contract." And
Right.
then the
You're
next
like, no,
question
that's
from
different.
us is always like, "Great, do you have proof of that from every driver?" Which of course most people go, "No, but I don't need to. It's in the contract."
It's in the
I
contract.
think that's one of the biggest hangups on the work injury side of things and on the auto liability side of things is just because you have a contract, it doesn't mean anything
Doesn't mean they have
anymore.
it and or if it's active.
Correct.
Yes.
It's crazy. I'm like, they could have gone and turned it on. Guess what? I bet you they went and canceled it the next day
Yeah.
Correct.
because they don't want to pay it.
Look,
Right.
our worlds are all a factor of what goes on in the legal community, right?
Yeah.
Our worlds are shaped by that. What we're trying to do is help our clients be in a defensible position to the extent they can be, and then backstop anything else after that with an insurance product, right? And transfer that risk over. It's amazing though the fights we get with, but I don't need that. And this is where I think experience matters of, hey, yeah, we've been doing this for 15, 20 years. We could start naming claims that we've seen and issues and legal cases where you're like, what everything you're saying is not wrong, but it's not how it plays out when it hits the courts. So we're trying to give you the other side of that of when this goes sideways, you don't want to be questioning whether you have coverage or protection, right? You want to
Yeah.
know it's hanging.
Well, just to
And it's
piggyback
like,
on your point too, Carly, about when you said, well, they could cancel it the next day or reduce the limits. I mean, we see that every day from an auto standpoint. You might be required to carry 100, 300 limits. And then once you turn that certificate into your motor carrier, you reduce that to state minimum or cancel it altogether. Well, there's hired and non-owned policies that coverage relies on that primary limit. If it's not there, you have no coverage. That's a problem, right? So you have to design insurance products that can adapt to an industry that's maybe a little loose, I guess is a good way to phrase it.